prayer neither for, please remain standing, a prayer neither for nor against the rain. Let us pray. Now, here for us. Stillness surround us. Enable our hearts to grow quiet, even as our minds and schedules race. This is that moment, a long-awaited destination, a beginning for which we've waited. We've waited with intention and care, and yet we arrive surprised, animated, even overwhelmed. This threshold of new endeavor, familiar and brand new, is ours together. Its promise, its risk, unique to each. Stand with us, all that is sacred. Still our rising fears and ignite our vision. Lift our eyes to glimpse those who look to us, Brown's rising generation, those who look to us for rescue, for inspiration, for imagination, for concern. In the quiet of this shady grove, amid this truly rare company, blessed with the twin privileges of our education and of each other, may we find our calling together. When weary, may we find and take heart in encouraging words and deeds of friendship. When work seems vast and unknowable, may we lend each other intellect, soul, imagination. Hear our deep gratitude for families and loved ones who hold us close, and hold close our thankfulness for all whose teaching and guidance bring us to this day. Shelter us from doubt as we marvel at the privilege we receive to take our place in this Brunonian community for this academic year. We, the Brown community, gather in all our dazzling difference and possibility, blown together to this place by winds of purpose and intention far stronger than any autumn storm. May we never diminish one another. May we, ever true, make of our life together a blessing for those whose lives know neither beauty nor joy. May we find in our friendship and shared endeavor the joy and work of truly worthy living. Grant us grace to find and to do the good this day and always. Amen. Now you can be seated.
Members of the Brown community, faculty, staff, alumni, parents, and students, it is my great pleasure as president of Brown University to declare the 253rd academic year open. I want to extend a special welcome to the members of the entering classes of the graduate school, medical school, and college. Among them are 144 dedicated medical school students. Right there. 785 exceptionally talented master's and doctoral students. 10 brilliant resumed undergraduate education scholars who have gained life experience after high school before coming to Brown. 54 incredibly wise and perceptive transfer students. And of course, 1,682 visionary first-year students, the core of the stellar class of 2020. Welcome, welcome. So our new students are entering Brown at an important moment in higher education. This is a time of very fierce debate about the capacity of colleges and universities to truly prepare students for confronting difficult, complex issues that society faces today. And one of the hot-button issues is freedom of expression and the supposed coddling of American college students. And I want to talk to you about that today. Some people are concerned that colleges are becoming places that stifle expression in the interests of protecting students from ideas and perspectives they don't want to hear. Safe spaces and trigger warnings are held up as the poster children of overprotective universities. So, students and their families who are reading the headlines, they may be scratching their heads and wondering, what does this all mean? And, maybe your focus is simply getting the education you signed up for, and you have to think about this. Well, frankly, I believe that much of the conversation in the media is muddled. Terms like safe spaces and trigger warnings are thrown around without precise definitions. References to freedom of expression are often made without any attempted articulation of what exactly freedom of expression means in the context of a university and why it's so important. The tenor of the conversation stands in contrast to what we expect of our students, which is the expression of ideas with accuracy and integrity and without hyperbole. So this is a really good opportunity to think about our values as a community and at the same time maybe clear up some misconceptions so we can focus on the reason why we're all here. So let me start with freedom of expression. A common misunderstanding is that this is a First Amendment issue. However, the First Amendment covers government-imposed restrictions on speech, and private colleges and universities like Brown actually are allowed to restrict the expression of ideas and beliefs within their campuses if they choose to do so. But it's really important to be clear on this point. Most private colleges and universities, including Brown, do not make this choice. And I'll repeat that, we don't make this choice. Instead, we protect the rights of members of our communities to express a full range of ideas, however controversial. Why? Good question. The answer is that freedom of expression is an essential component of academic freedom, which protects the abilities of universities to fulfill their core mission of advancing knowledge. Suppressing ideas at a university is like turning off the power in a factory. As scholars and students, our responsibility is to subject old truths to scrutiny, put forward new ideas to improve them, and it's through this dynamic process of testing and contesting and advancing ideas, arguing about ideas, that we move knowledge and understanding forward. That's why all of us are here. That's what the academic enterprise of teaching and learning and innovating and discovering is all about. So, this process of creating knowledge, it can be rocky and it can be contentious at times. History shows us that many scientists have been branded as crackpots or worse for putting forward important new ideas. Notable examples were the introductions of the theories that germs cause disease, that smoking causes lung cancer, that there is such a thing as man-made climate change. And at universities, in addition to this scientific work, we also advance understanding on issues of justice and fairness. And these discussions can be equally, if not more, difficult. Look back. From the very, very earliest days of this country, college campuses have been the vanguard of very fierce debates about slavery, about war, about women's rights and racial justice. These discussions create uncomfortable moments, and they should. We're talking about discussions that have created seismic shifts in how we treat other people and how we recognize the rights of individuals. These arguments, debates, and even protests are essential to our work and to society at large. And if we didn't have these debates, if we were to limit the flow of ideas, then in 50 years, we would be no better than we are today. So yes, academic freedom, including freedom of expression, is very important to this university. Brown doesn't condone censorship. All members of our community are free to advance and debate ideas, hold forums for discussion, invite speakers of their choosing to campus. We don't sanction interference with our colleagues' rights to enjoy academic freedom. Now, one thing I want to stress that's really important is that these rights extend equally to all members of our community, from the most senior tenured professors with long and distinguished academic pedigrees to undergraduate students, first-year students who are the first in their families to attend college. Each and every one of you is part of this community. Each and every one of you brings valuable perspectives and experiences to this campus. Each and every one of you belongs here, and I hope you don't forget that. Now, you may not be surprised to hear that I don't share the view that American college students want to be protected from ideas that make them uncomfortable. Just the opposite. Each and every day, I see our students with their eyes wide open, confronting really hard issues. Over the past few years, our students have addressed topics that make many people very comfortable, uncomfortable indeed. Racism, sexual assault, religious persecution. These are tough problems with no easy answers. For many members of our community, these issues are not theoretical abstractions, but part of their lived experiences, adding a sense of immediacy and urgency to the discussions. Brown students, at least the ones I see, don't want to hide from these and other challenging issues, and I wouldn't insult you by suggesting otherwise. As for safe spaces, something that's talked a lot about in the paper, this term is used in so many different ways that it's impossible to discuss it without telling you exactly what I mean when I use the phrase. As I understand it, the term came out of the women's movement about 50 years ago, and it was used then to refer to consciousness-raising groups and forums where women's rights issues were discussed. Then it was extended to denote spaces where LGBTQ violence and harassment wouldn't be tolerated, and then extended yet again to mean places where students from marginalized groups can come together to feel comfortable discussing their experiences and just being themselves. If this is what a safe space means, then yes, Brown has them, proudly. More generally, you will find many opportunities at Brown through clubs and organizations to get to know students who share similar backgrounds and interests, religious, political, and otherwise. In her memoir, My Beloved World, which many of you read over the summer, Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor talks about her appreciation of a group she joined at Princeton for students of Puerto Rican heritage. Although she made it a point to develop friendships with people from different backgrounds, that group gave her a much-needed anchor in a place that was unlike anything she had experienced before. Now, maybe this isn't what critics of safe spaces mean, but if not, then I have to confess, I'm not really sure what they mean. Brown got a query from a reporter just last week asking if we have a designated list of safe spaces on campus and if there is one in every building. What on earth are they referring to? Idea-free zones staffed by thought police where disagreement is prohibited? I can assure you that our students wouldn't stand for that. So my final point, and one that I think is often missed in the media debates, is this. Universities like Brown are doing something very difficult and very important. We're grappling with how to create peaceful and just and prosperous societies that achieve harmony despite our differences. And, you know, we live in a society that often feels more divided and rancorous than ever, fractured along the lines of race and ethnicity and income and political beliefs. I could cite statistics for you about growing income inequality or increasing racial tensions or widening political polarization, but I expect you know these things already. So in this environment, we have the exciting but daunting challenge of finding new ways to come together. This isn't easy. With the right of academic freedom comes the moral responsibility to think hard and carefully about how that right is exercised in the service of society. Every person here has a choice. Each of us is free to mirror what we too often see in the world around us, to be mean-spirited, to engage in divisive rhetoric, to stoop to name-calling and labeling in the hopes of pummeling others into submission and silence if they don't share our views. But each of us is also free to aspire to better, to value others even as we disagree with them, to treat people with respect and dignity, to listen to others, and to appreciate and learn from the rich diversity of backgrounds and experiences of the people who comprise this amazing, extraordinary community. As Justice Sonia Sotomayor said in her reference to her own college experience, to build bridges, not walls. And over again, not every time for sure, but much more often than not, I see members of the Brown community making the second of these two choices. And I hope all of you will do the same. I have great confidence in the intellectual openness and integrity and goodness of the Brown community, in all of you. And I am just incredibly thrilled that you're here to join us in our work. Now with this, I'll draw my remarks to a close. I'll say as a final point that I know you don't want coddling, but I expect that you will receive and give kindness and understanding. I hope you're excited about being part of this really vibrant community of scholars committed to advancing knowledge and understanding in the service to society, so that when you return to Brown for your 5th or your 15th, or, and yes, the day will come, your 50th reunions, we'll know more and be better than we are today. Now, to introduce our keynote speaker, Andrew Campbell, Professor of Medical Science and our new Dean of the Graduate School at Brown. During his 22 years at Brown, Dean Campbell has made major contributions as a teacher and scholar and administrator. He's been a passionate advocate of engaging undergraduate and graduate students in the imaginative and creative process of discovery, and he'll talk a little bit about that right now. I am honored and delighted that he is leading Brown's graduate school. So please join me in welcoming him, and thank you.
Greetings, President Paxson, Provost Locke, fellow administrators, faculty, and staff. Welcome, or welcome back, alumni and families. Welcome new families and friends. But most of all, welcome, welcome, welcome to the entering 2016 undergraduate, graduate, and medical school classes. Give yourselves a hand. You are all remarkable individuals who join this institution and will do remarkable things. Imagine it, because at this 253rd Convocation of Brown University, you are the link between Brown's venerable history and our bright, unwritten future. Whether you're a first-generation college student or following in the footsteps of earlier generations, whether you have traveled great distances to be here or just climbed College Hill, whether you come directly from high school or from years of career exploration, you've worked hard and deserve to be here. Though it may be hard to imagine today, in the not-too-distant future, we will gather here again to celebrate all that you have accomplished in your time here at Brown and to commemorate those achievements. The journey from that first culminating day from this first day to that culminating day starts now. And just as most journeys begin with some version of a roadmap, even if only as a starting proposition as you commence your Brown journey, be aware that you have many guides, many maps, and navigator apps at your disposal. We, the faculty, staff, and administrators are here to offer you guidance and support. In one form or another, we have each made a journey similar to the one in which you embark today. All of us amongst the faculty also get to vicariously relive our college or postgraduate experiences through you, all the while being cognizant that your route will be unique, not only because of the times we live in, but because of your unique interests and your innovative spirits. Your destination is determined by your imagination. Make use of the supports provided to you by faculty and staff, but stand firmly rooted in your own guiding curiosity, your imagination, and your courage to take risks. So much of what you've done to be here today focused on the accumulation of knowledge, your earlier academic success, your performance on SATs, ACTs, GREs, and MCATs. And of course, during your time here, you will be expected to assimilate new knowledge. But much of your journey will require imaginative creativity built on that foundation of knowledge. These include your knowledge of historical forces, literary trends, scientific discoveries, and mathematical truths. These are the scaffolding from which your own creative contributions to our community of scholarship will emerge. So I urge you today to contemplate the role of your imagination, your creativity, your curiosity, and your courage in life until now, to consider the role they will play in your time at Brown. Imagination is the power of your mind to build what does not exist, to see what is not there. George Bernard Shaw wrote, "Imagination is the beginning of creation. Will what you desire, desire what you imagine, and at last create what you will." So I encourage you to imagine, desire, will, and create. At some point, you imagine what it would be like to be here at Brown. Through your considerable will, discipline, work ethic, and ability, you have earned your seat on this green today. You created a new reality in the same way your time at Brown will be shaped by what you imagine, desire, will, and create. The 19th century artist Paul Gauguin became a painter relatively late in life. He trained with the Impressionists, but eventually became disillusioned with their emphasis on the everyday. Disenchanted with Western civilization, he sought a truer, rawer form of expression. He set off for the South Pacific, where he integrated his experiments with decorative arts, his interest in religious, cultural symbolism, and his knowledge of the latest findings in unicolor perception to create an entirely original style of painting, which in turn sparked the Expressionists. Of course, Gauguin died syphilitic, alone, and unappreciated. And his projections on native peoples are problematic on so many levels, but his artistic contributions are significant to this day. Gauguin was not perfect. No one in history is perfect, and I doubt that any of us is perfect. Gauguin's path and creative journey, however, encompassed many of the elements I recommend to you today. He trained in Paris with the innovators of his day. He sought out masters such as Van Gogh and worked with them. He experimented in other media, block carving, printmaking, ceramics. He studied the scientific findings on color perception, and when he felt that the artistic currents of the time held nothing more for him, he set off to find new inspiration. He imagined, desired, willed, and created. In 1850, the fourth president of Brown University, Francis Whalen, advocated that students should have the freedom to determine their educational experience. Whalen was not warm and fuzzy. In fact, a former student role of Whalen, it was a calamity to be called into that awful presence. Yet Whalen insisted that students should study what they choose and all that they choose. Today, his vision is implemented in Brown's open curriculum, which encourages undergraduates to follow their curiosity, let loose their imagination, and explore areas of thought they had never considered before. The underpinning of the open curriculum is also evident in Brown's graduate programs, which strive to balance disciplinary depth and rigor with breadth. I implore you, incoming graduate students, to seek out the myriad opportunities for interdisciplinary collaborations with faculty and fellow students alike, because it is in these intersectional spaces that new insights are gained, dogma questioned, and creativity nourished. To our future physicians, the scholarly concentration programs of our medical schools support pursuit beyond the conventional medical curriculum. It offers you the opportunity to translate your personal interest and cross-disciplinary activities into scholarship and clinical excellence. I urge you all to remember that singular disciplinary studies in a multidisciplinary world limit your capacity and your ability to communicate in the wider world. We faculty are not here to train you to do what we have done or to think as we think. Your time at Brown is not to be spent confirming our beliefs and assumptions. You are meant to work with us to re-examine those assumptions. Dogma, the belief we accept without doubt or question, hinders intellectual progress. It can be hard to recognize when theory becomes dogma. Often it is the student, the outsider, the newcomer, who reveals when this calcification develops. Nobel laureate Martin Chalfie describes how sound scientific practice can evolve into dogma. We design an experiment to test a hypothesis, consider the relevant factors, define the variables, and measure the results. We consider an experiment has worked when it confirms our predictions. But, Chalfie contests, such an outcome teaches us nothing new. It simply affirms a theory and pushes it closer to becoming dogma. Fertile ground for imagination and new discovery is to be found, he argues, when our carefully designed and controlled experiments fail to yield the predicted results. Science is not unbiased. A theory is a form of bias that shapes how we perceive and attend to natural phenomena. A recent documentary on the CERN facility in Switzerland reveals a case in point. After investing billions of dollars and decades of work, in 2013, the Large Hadron Collider confirmed the existence of the Higgs boson particle 50 years after it had been predicted. This positive result was critical to confirming much that theoretical physics had accomplished in recent decades. Moreover, two competing theories, supersymmetry and multiverse, predicted different values for the mass of the Higgs boson, and there was great anticipation to discover which would be proven right. The experimental results put the mass of the Higgs boson exactly between the two values predicted by the two competing theories, confirming neither theory. So, a positive experimental result confirmed the general direction of theoretical physics, and an unexpected result has thrown open the field to entirely new theories. This is fertile ground indeed. By the way, the late Brown University professor of physics, Gerald Guralnick, was one of the originators of the theory that predicted the Higgs boson. My colleagues in the program in biology will know that Professor Guralnick trained with Walter Gilbert. Walter Gilbert was trained in applied mathematics and theoretical physics. He won the Nobel Prize in chemistry for work done in biology. So, faculty, when one of your doctoral students says, "I'd like to sample the Brown curriculum for what it offers in physics, the arts, mathematics, or the humanities because it will make me better," think about what our colleague, Professor Gilbert, would say. Now, as human beings, we are predisposed to attend to what is consistent with our biases, our internal theories of the world, and to ignore or minimize what is inconsistent. This very human tendency is the enemy of true scholarship and discovery, as it is the enemy of personal growth. Use your time at Brown to expose yourself to the new and the unfamiliar. Spend time outside of your comfort zone. These experiences will reveal your essential nature and will help you to imagine greater possibilities for yourself and for society. They will help you to build lives of purpose and meaning. Now, I have asked you to imagine your time at Brown as a time of dedication to ideas, to each other, to growth, to taking creative and intellectual risks, to doing what you came here to do and what you have not yet imagined. So in closing, let me remind you to imagine, desire, will, and create. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Dean Campbell. I think a miracle has happened. It hasn't rained yet, which is great. So as we close, I want to give you my wish for all of you as we begin this new year. I wish you opportunities for academic excitement, for personal growth, for friendship given and received, and that you have opportunities to make a positive impact on the world around you. Now, please join me in singing the alma mater with the higher keys. Do we stand for the alma mater? Yes, rise for the alma mater. Congratulations and welcome. It's in your program.
Alma mater, we hail thee with loyal devotion, and bring to thine altar our offerings of praise. Our hearts swell within us with joyful emotion, as the name of old Brown in loud chorus we raise. The happiest moments of youth's fleeting hours we pass neath the shade of these time-honored walls, and sorrows as transient as April's brief showers have clouded our life in Brunonia's halls.
Thank you and welcome again.